Hello there, my name is Austin from the Reloading Weatherby channel. I am doing collaboration with Bullets for Bucks. And in today's video, we're going to talk about the old standard, the old warhorse, the cartridge that every other cartridge is compared to. At one time, one of the best hunting rounds. My question, is the 30-06 still relevant in 2025? Let's find out. The 30-06 has a nickname. It's the Jack of all trades, which also means it really doesn't specialize in one thing. The 30-06, when it comes down to it, extremely versatile. But today, people are going away from 30 calibers. They're picking lighter recoiling, higher BC bullets in the 6.5 millimeters. The question that a lot of people ask, are the new 6.5s really that much better? Or can they even match a 30-06? That's what we're going to find out. All right, I've opened up the good old Hornady reloading book, looking at 30-06 Springfield. Let's go ahead and look at the numbers. I think the most popular bullet weight are 165 to 180 grain. And with certain powders and hand loading it, you can get 2950. 180 grain is a very popular choice for elk rounds. 30-06 is a pretty decent elk cartridge. And you're getting pretty respectable 2750. It's not bad, but it's not great. There's a decent amount of recoil when you're shooting a 180 grain bullet at 2750. And funny enough, no one really does this, but if you took a 6.5 Creedmoor versus a 30-06 minus the foot-pounds of energy, they are basically the same velocity and the same trajectory all the way out to 1,000 yards. Kind of funny. But even in factory ammo, this is a 180 grain normal bond strike, and it kind of confirms what Hornady says, 2,756 feet per second. It's okay, but what if we used modern powder with modern bullets? Winchester loads up a 190 grain AccuBond long range that has a pretty high BC, pretty heavy bullet, and honestly, they have some respectable velocities. 2750 with a 190 grain. That's pretty darn good. While the 30-06 is it's fine with factory ammo. Like most cartridges, when you hand load it, it really wakes it up and it turns it into kind of a little monster. I want to show you that. The powder I'm specifically talking about is Vihtavuori N550. Another powder, if you have access to this, I know it's really hard to find, is Reloader 17, but this is the powder for 30-06. Yesterday I was at the range shooting a 30-06 with a 22-inch barrel with this bullet, which is a 175 grain Sierra Match King with Vihtavuori N550. I did a ladder test, and what I wanted to see is what is the max velocity I could get in a 22-inch barrel with this powder in a 175 grain. Here's the result.
Okay, 56.5 grains. 2874. This might be the last one, which is 57 grains. 2900.
Let me introduce you to Gordon's reloading tool. A really cool software program. It's like your modern handbook, reloading handbook. So you can put in your cartridge. You just got to make sure you put in the correct case volume, the cartridge length, and the barrel length. You pick your bullet and the powder, and it will give you an estimation of your max velocity at certain pressure. That's what it does best. With a 24-inch barrel and a 30-06 with a 178 grain ELDX and going up to 65,000 PSI. Now let's talk about that real quick. Many will say, oh, the 30-06 isn't rated. The SAMI spec isn't rated for that. Well, most of us are using modern guns with good high quality brass. There's absolutely zero issues going up to 65,000 PSI. Will it shoot the best up there? Probably not. But you definitely can do it. And boy, using Vihtavuori N550 powder, look at the max velocity you can get. Roughly around 2920 feet per second. Guys, that's insane in a 30-06 with a 178 grain. It's so crazy, I kind of wanted to compare it to 300 Winchester Magnum, and this isn't obviously apples to apples. I'm comparing a very hot loaded hand load to factory ammo, but a 300 Win Mag with that same bullet is only going 2960. So with that kind of performance, how does it really compare to more of the popular cartridges that have kind of replaced the 30-06? Let's first start out with the 6.5 Creedmoor. We are going to hand load velocities in all of these. A 142 AccuBond long range at 2750, 2,385 foot-pounds at 400, basically 2,200 feet per second, 1,500 foot-pounds of energy. When sighting it at 100, This is the MOA in drop at 400 and the wind drift with a 10-mile-per-hour wind in MOA. It's all right. You know, the 6.5 Creedmoor's good enough for deer. Let's step up to its bigger brother. It's very popular right now. A lot of people claiming this is the best do-it-all cartridge. We're going to use the same bullet, but 250 feet per second faster at 3,000. Energy, 2838 foot-pounds. At 400 yards, bullets going 2419. 1,846 foot-pounds of energy. And then it's a bit flatter than a 6.5 Creedmoor, 5.56 MOA and 1.93 MOA wind drift. Let's not forget about the old classic 270 Winchester with a 150 grain AccuBond long range, muzzle velocity 2950, almost 2,900 foot-pounds of energy at 400 yards, going 2344, and just about the exact same foot-pounds of energy as the 6.5 PRC. Little known fact, these two have the exact same case capacity. And then it's not as flat, but it's really close. 5.86 versus 6.5 PRC and 2.1 MOA in wind drift. Finally, the jack of all trades. How does it really shake out with modern powder and bullets? We're gonna use a 168 ABLR, muzzle velocity of 3,000 feet per second. Woo, 3,358 foot-pounds. Kind of smokes everyone at the muzzle with that energy. At 400 yards, bull's going 2317, and we have the most energy, 2,003 foot-pounds of energy. So 200 more, roughly, than the 6.5 PRC and the 270 Win, and 500 more foot-pounds than the 6.5 Creedmoor. Also flatter shooting than a 6.5 Creedmoor to 400, 5.8, 2.34. At the end of the day, though, the new generation, they aren't using Grandpa's cartridge like other generations. They want less recoil, sexier high BC bullets, although you can shoot certainly some high sexy BC bullets in 30-06. They also, I think the 6.5 Creedmoor and the other 6.5s are just flatter shooting than a 30-06. But man, if you're willing to hand load a 30-06, whew, watch out. As you saw, flatter shooting than a 6.5 Creedmoor, way more energy. And look, I understand the recoil is not enjoyable in a 30-06. A lot of people say it's about the most an average person is willing to take. Personally though, it's 2025. Everyone has a threaded barrel. Everyone's shooting suppressed or with a muzzle brake. This thing shoots like a dream with either one of those. 6.5 PRC and 6.5 Creedmoor are what's in right now, and they're certainly very good for deer-sized game. But I guess call me old school, fellas. Elk size and bigger. I'm gonna go with the larger diameter, more energy, bigger bullets. 30-06 is the way.
Thanks for watching Bullets for Bucks. Check out this next video and subscribe.